Welcome to the last edition of
Mhm.
Second City Sports Weekend Edition Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Along with Miss Lakeena McGee, I am Cindy Brown. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, that's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow the show Second City Sports on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. Videos drop every Monday and Friday. Once again, videos drop every Monday and Friday on YouTube. You can follow the show at War on Anchor. We're available on all podcast platforms. That's WARR on Anchor. And you can follow weareregalradio.com, WEAREREGAL radio.com. I'm slipping today.
Mhm.
I think I got the address correct, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Good, good.
W A
You
R
can
R
follow,
WAARR Media. Yeah, you got it.
yeah, yeah. WAR Media. You can follow on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Excuse me. That's at WAR Media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can follow us there. Thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And we have very definite opinions. We have a major show announcement coming at you guys later on in the program, so stay tuned for that. Lakina, as we kick off this edition of Second City Sports Weekend Edition, I feel pretty good as we talk baseball. The Chicago White Sox are taking on the Chicago Cubs. We'll give you all the bells and whistles on our next episode coming up on Monday. Like I said, we'll explain more about that later on in the show. Lakina, I know
Mhm.
the White Sox are 9-12 since the All Star break. And I know
Mhm.
they lost their last two series to the Kansas City Royals. But I'm still feeling pretty good because all the stars are coming back. Elo Jimenez, he hasn't looked good yet, which I expect. I know he has one big home run, and that was the last Tuesday's win at Kansas City. I know that De La Cease has looked good in the only one in Kansas City here in Chicago earlier this week with 11 strikeouts and 6+ innings. I know that Luis Robert is coming back pretty soon. I know that Tim Anderson is swinging a hot stick. I know Jose Abreu has had a great July. I know Sebi Savala, the backup catcher, is having a hot streak for a rookie. But I still feel good, not only because of the big division lead you have over the Cleveland Indians, soon to be Guardians, but the starting pitching is starting to come around. Now, on the bad side, Lucas Giolito did not look good in his last start on Thursday. The offense, as we said to you guys all year, has been hit and miss. I know the majority of it is due to the injuries, but other guys have stepped in and stepped up valuably. I still feel pretty good. I'm not as pessimistic as some people yet, but as we told you guys in our last couple of episodes, the schedule is about to get tougher, and the White Sox are putting it together at the right time.
Look,
I am concerned, but I'm not going to jump off the bridge just yet.
no, I think, look, I think for me, as I said before, I mean, look, you're gonna have series where you're gonna lose, 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4. It's just how it is. I mean, the Royals have actually have always been a pain in the White Sox side. I mean, Giolito did not look good on that Wednesday start. He didn't. I mean, let's just, he's been honest about it. Gave up 6 runs, and it just wasn't his best start. And I think that's sort of like, okay, that's just sort of the pitfalls of a long season where you're gonna have, it ebbs and flows, and you're gonna have, just not have your just not gonna have your good stuff that day. I mean, Keuchel, I mean, his start was a little bit better on Thursday, but he had 5 strikeouts, but again, he had 3 walks, and that led to a couple of runs. So that didn't really help his cause either. So yeah, I mean, look, I'm not freaking out yet. Now, as you said, Sid, the schedule does get tougher for the White Sox. I mean, of course, after the Cubs series, no disrespect for the Cubs, but that's not. I'm not gonna go there with there just yet. We'll talk a little bit of Cubs in a second, but after the Cubs, they got Minnesota. They got four against the Yankees at G-Raid. You got Oakland. Oakland's always been problems for them, for the White Sox. I mean,
Mhm.
you got then after that you go at the Rays and go to Toronto to play the Blue Jays, a really good Blue Jays team that looks like they're starting to kind of get together.
Mm-hmm.
It's bringing in a nice little run. So it's going to get tough these next couple of weeks for the White Sox. And look, you don't have to worry about your division because you pretty much got that wrapped up. But again, if you want to improve your seeding and perhaps not having to play maybe, Toronto or Oakland right away, you better, take care in these series. And unfortunately, they haven't been able to do that ever since the break. But I'm not gonna, push the panic button just yet.
I'm not getting the sense either that the White Sox are just taking these games for granted. That's why you have Tony La Russa as your manager. He's not going to let this team get too high or get too low. I don't think they're just going out there and going through the motions. But at the same time, you can't just go out there and think that you can go through the motions and expect to win either. So this is still a young team, as I mentioned before, early in the season. You still have young veterans that have been there before. In Dallas Keuchel, he won a World Series with the Astros. You still have Jose Abreu, who's the longest tenure player on the White Sox. But this is still a very young team, still growing up and learning how to play together as a team. You had a little taste of success last year getting into the playoffs. You winning one game, but that's not enough. This team says it's going to go for it all. Now you have Craig Kimbrough. He's been in pressure situations before. He's been through the wars in the playoffs. You have Ryan Tepera, who's bounced around this league before, so he's been on winning teams. So you still have veterans there, but the attitude of the team needs to be still, let's go out and win each and every day, play consistently, and let's not take any days off. Let's not go through the motions. I do not sense that right now. Like you say, it is going through a tough stretch, but they got to turn it around and turn it around fast because after this Cubs series, you mentioned Minnesota, even though they're down, they can still put a foot in your behind. So, and after that, it gets tough. You have that Yankees series, of course, the Thursday game in Iowa before you have a day off to come back here and then play the Yankees to wrap up that series next weekend at Sox Park. And then you got 3 at Tampa Bay. And, they just picked up Nelson Cruz, your nemesis from Minnesota. So that's not going to be an easy series. And so, as we said in the last couple episodes, looking in playoff mode is now. This is the month of August. We're in the 6th day as of this recording of August. We just beginning this month. These are the dog days of summer, and every team goes through it, whether you winning or you losing. So for the White Sox, if you want to be taken seriously, this is playoff baseball and it starts right now.
Well, and like you said, Sid, I think the good news is that everybody is coming back. I mean, it's going to take Eloy a couple weeks to kind of get back into that Eloy mode that we know and love. Robert will probably be back in in a few weeks as well. He's playing very well down there in AAA. So, in Charlotte. So I'm not like worried about the White Sox right now. But again, if they end up losing some of these games, I mean, it's probably gonna be a short visit for the White Sox in the playoffs because this is sort of like the time when you're supposed to kind of get into playoff mode. So let's see if they can do it. I think they can. You got Tony La Russa, who's been through this before, so I'm not too worried. But again, I think if you can get get the Cubs series over and done with, get the Twins series. I know you lost the series against the Twins the last time you guys played, but look, I think you can still, perhaps maybe put together a little bit of something before you go into that tough stretch against the Yankees and the
Mm-hmm.
A's, and it'll be very interesting. But we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, you just need to pile up the wins and play with some consistency. That's the goal from here on out.
All right, so I know you haven't. I know you haven't watched a lot of Cubs baseball, and I don't blame you because a lot of the, most of the players, it's mostly AAA guys. It's basically Hendricks and Arrieta, and I know now Hayward's out with a bruised index finger, so he's on the IL for the next 10 days. It's mostly, I mean, unfortunately, it's mostly like minor league guys at this point. They lost 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. Of course they got the White Sox. And I think at this point, it's going to be a tough one for Cubs fans as they finish out the season. Of course, you got Milwaukee and Miami. So you're basically just, I heard Jed Hoyer, of course, the GM, working around saying that he hopes that this is a full and rebuild and that maybe he can get Baez and Bryant and Rizzo to come back. But again, that's a discussion for at the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, all I can really say about the Cubs is just maybe try to finish strong and see if, because as I said before, you're not going to be able to sell a long rebuild to Cubs fans. and as I said before, unfortunately, that's going to be sort of the thing where you're going to, you got, especially now that the Ricketts family have voted on, to get Wrigley, sort of the stuff around Wrigley. So that's going to be money coming in, and revenue. So you're not going to be able to, like I said, by this time next year, you're not going to be able to sell a rebuild to the fans, because you're gonna have to sort of just sit there and just say, okay, you know what, we got the money now. We can perhaps maybe get a free agent, maybe get one of the three guys that we just mentioned to come back. So I don't know. What do you think?
As we said in our last episode, this is on the job training right now for the Cubs. This season is pretty much a wash, perhaps next year as well. We'll see what happens, like you said, this time next year when supposedly all this money is coming in, recovering from this pandemic. Now, what Tom Ricketts is given GM Jed Hoyer the green light to do, we knew that this was coming. But if you listen to Anthony Rizzo's comments from earlier this week on ESPN 1000 here in Chicago on our good friend Jonathan Hood and Cap's show, his comments were anything but polite to Mr. Hoyer. And maybe some more things we'll probably find out about what happened during the trade deadline down the road with Jed Hoyer. But here's the thing, Lakeena. The plan for Mr. Hoyer, it may be in good faith when all this is said and done, but right now it just doesn't look good. I know we were under the impression that he was going to get rid of a couple of people, but to get rid of your whole entire superstar core, people are still in shock in terms of fans after all this. But getting back to Ornfield, this is on-the-job training for the rest of the season and perhaps next year as well. So you got to find out what you have. And then really what the problem is for the Cubs is their scouting department. They still had to rebuild their minor league system. I know they got a few pieces through these trades, but it's just not enough. You want to be a team like hopefully the White Sox are becoming, a team like the Astros, definitely the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Tampa Bay Rays. Even though they don't pay anybody, you still have talent coming up the pipeline through your minor league system. I know that should be the goal of the Cubs right now. You worry about them winning in the major league level, and rightfully so, but you can't do that unless you have talent throughout your single A, double A, and triple A affiliates. They have to build that up first.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be sort of like the million-dollar question. Will they be able to rebuild that farm system from triple A and double A and single A, and also, like I said too, I mean, yes, on the job training and the core, and they should have won one more World Series. Okay, yeah, we can have that discussion till the cows come home. But I think eventually it's gonna get to a point where I think you're gonna have to, if you read Tom Ricketts' statement, it just seems a little tone deaf in my opinion. I don't want to get into it because we got some other stuff to talk about. But I think if you're a Cubs fan, I think you're kind of like, really, that's really, you're really, I mean, at this core made you guys relevant again. This is probably the best core of the Cubs in the best years. Going to the playoffs consistently, being right there, for the LCS, finally breaking that drought, 100+ drought, and winning a World Series. So I just like, hopefully we can get back to that again. Like I said, you're not gonna, no more than 2 years, not gonna be able to sell it, because if they do struggle next year, if they don't at least try to turn the corner, people are gonna stop going to Wrigley, and I think that's the one thing that I'm sure the Ricketts family does not want.
You saw that when they first bought the team back in 2011, 2012, and the first part of 2013. That did happen.
Yes, it did.
So it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. So and I hope Tom remembers that. So you better hope that by this time next year, they're at least trying to turn the corner. At least say, okay, you know what? We've got some prospects. We got some good players coming up. Maybe we can get a free agent signing or two, and just maybe we can be there in contention, because I'm sure the Central, no one's going to run away from the Central. We're not going to see a dynasty in the Central. So that division ebbs and flows too. So hopefully by next year they can at least turn the corner, because if not, people are not going to show up to Wrigley, and I think that's something that the Cubs front office and the Cubs ownership, they do not want.
You're listening to the weekend edition of Second City Sports along with Lakeena McGee and Cindy Brown as we talk Major League Baseball. Lakeena, what was your best and or worst moment from the rest of the baseball world this past week?
Well, the former Cubs core, they're all doing well for their respective new teams. I mean, I think Rizzo, I think he's the first Yankee to that's where it's saying that to homer in his first few games with the Yankees and his debut with the team. So that's great, and they've won 3 in a row as of this. They've won 8 of their last 10 as of this recording. So they're starting to turn the
Mhm.
corner a little bit. Baez with the Mets. Now, unfortunately, the Mets have not on the flip side. Losing 3 of their last 10. So it's getting a little close in that NL East, but we'll get to that in a second. Also, too, Chris Bryant's been doing pretty well, keeping the Giants, up at the top of the NL West. Keeping the Dodgers, they've had their struggles too at bay. So I think for me is really sort of like the former Cubs, doing well and
Mhm.
contributing to their new teams.
Going along with you, Lakeena, the Anaheim Angels, they take care of the Rangers this week. But I want to talk about Shohei Ohtani. This guy's on another level. He's your AL MVP winner as far as I'm concerned. I know he's, excuse me, some people have dubbed him this generation's Babe Ruth, maybe so, but that guy is amazing, and it's no more superlatives or any more words I can say about that guy. He's just awesome. But I want to talk about that 2-game series between the Astros and Dodgers. Of course, both those teams has some history dating back to the 2017 World Series where the Astros normally cheated, but their title was not vacated. Unfortunately, I was listening to some LA sports radio this week, and it was some things that I didn't like that I've heard, and then it was confirmed to me via the social media, and
What?
I know things are getting back to normal, okay? Even with the shenanigans that's trying to pop up again, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm keeping it with sports. Um, Fans, it is a privilege, not a right. It is a privilege, not a right. One more again, as the kids would say. It is a privilege, not a right, to attend these games, okay? I know we're happy to be back in the stadiums. I know we're happy to cheer on for our teams, but you do not, I repeat, do not have a right to act a fool. Some of the things I saw and heard every time the Astros player fouled the ball into the stands, some Dodgers fans threw it over the protective netting and threw it on the field of play. That's not helping your team. That's hurting your team. And then you got some Dodgers fans fighting with some Astro fans, and you got other Dodgers fans fighting with other Dodgers fans, especially with kids watching. And you wonder why some, not all, but some of our young people are confused and acting now because they're looking at some of you adults supposed to be role models. So you acted like 5-year-olds. Stop it.
Yeah, I heard some of the
You
I
know.
saw some of that stuff, and I was just like, really, like, like it's like really. I mean, people always say that, that adults act like children and like adults. And unfortunately, in this case, all the adults
Hmm.
were acting like children, and it is just unfortunate that it's kind of like, okay, people want to act like idiots, and look, I know
Hmm.
there's no love lost between the two. I know that the Dodgers fans booed the Astros. Okay, fine, I get it. You felt like
But
you
when you
got,
take it too far, it goes
yeah,
excessive. That's what I have a problem with.
yeah, and it's so,
Not to
yeah,
interrupt. Yeah, not to interrupt you, Lakina. I know this is Cubs Sox weekend here in Chicago. I know there's a Beltway series to the Dodgers and
yep.
Angels. We'll preview the rest of the weekend series in just a moment. But I know it's a fun rivalry. Going back to Cubs Sox, I know it's a fun rivalry. I like to have fun just like everybody else. But let's keep it fun. Let's not act stupid. No fighting, please.
Well,
Go on.
there's always going to be a couple of fights, unfortunately, and that's just how it is. But like I said before, I mean, it was a good series. They split the 2-game series. The Astros won the first one, the Dodgers won the second one. So maybe it may be a World Series preview again. We'll see. But it's just I just find it interesting that and not hilarious, but just you just shake your head at
Mhm.
some of the antics that happened outside the field. But it is what it is. So people are going to be acting stupid, and we may be on the break again of don't want to go there, but we might be on
Mhm.
lockdown in some form again. So y'all better stop before you get put in timeout again. Just saying. All right, so
Again, real.
some of the weekend series that we have coming up, of course, besides Cubs and White Sox, you got the Mets and the Phillies. And look, that's going to be very interesting because the Mets are now, as of this recording, only a half game up on the Phillies in the AL East, and NL East, I should say. So, that should be a fun series there. Seattle and New York, they're finishing up their series. Tampa Bay and Baltimore, Boston and Toronto. Like I said, Toronto has
big series.
That's huge because Toronto's won 8 of their last 10 and have won 3 in a row. So it's coming back to now playing in Toronto. I think you could definitely feel the energy and excitement from that young team. The pitch has been playing better. Barrios has had another good outing a couple of days ago. They're hitting, of
real
course.
Quickly, Ken.
No, just let me finish this. But the hitting has been really solid, so that should be a really good series with Boston and Toronto.
Yeah, did you catch Toronto's re-home opener last Friday?
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, and shout out to the Toronto Gay Men's Choir who did the national anthem, both national anthems. I know they beat the Kansas City Royals. If I know we're not from Canada, I don't know if you traveled to Canada before, Lakeena. I haven't. Hopefully, I'll get to do that before we check up out of here. But if you didn't get emotional after that, you got issues. I'll leave it at that. It was well done by the Toronto Blue Jays organization. I know there's some restriction.
There's still some restrictions, like you said, in Canada with some of the, you still gotta stay distant. You still gotta, I think they're not letting a full capacity. I think it's only like maybe about 2/3, half or 2/3 capacity from what I've read.
Yeah, as of right now. Yeah.
As of now, so. Still, a really beautiful moment. And I think like I said, you could feel like there's a new sense of energy now that they're home again. You can feel it. And their placement, it's like I said, they won 8 of their last 10 as of this recording, and they've been playing better even before that. So Toronto's starting to turn a corner. They could definitely, I don't know, they might be too far back to win the East. Look, if they can do well against the series with Boston, that could help a little bit and sort of chip away at that lead. But Toronto's been looking really good.
Yeah, do you like their home run jacket?
Well, every team has their quirks, right? Of course, you got the Miami, University football team with a turnover chain. Now everyone's copying it. Now you got the jackets. I mean, I think it's fun. I mean, it makes baseball fun. I don't know if we'll be seeing any of that with either one of our Chicago teams, but they're it's fun. I mean, it gets baseball fun. And they're young, so of course they can do that. They can do that. I mean, they're young. They can do that kind of stuff, and they're winning. So it's always good, when that happens and you're winning. It makes it even sweeter.
Facts. All right, go on.
All right, Detroit and Cleveland in the AL Central. Then you got Pittsburgh and Cincy. You got another good one here. Washington and Atlanta. Atlanta's been playing very well too. I know Acuna's out, but a lot of their guys have stepped up. I mean, what do you think about Atlanta, Sid, real quick? Because I kind of feel like, when Acuna got hurt, everyone kind of left them for dead. And now, they swept the Cardinals. They've won two out of against the Brewers earlier this, last weekend. Austin Riley's been playing very well. A lot of their young guys have been playing well too for the Braves.
Yeah, the only thing that gives you hope if you're a Braves fan that's that they're in the NL East and the New York Mets are struggling. I still don't trust Philadelphia. Their bullpen's terrible. The Miami Marlins are the Miami Marlins. The Washington Nationals, they sold off everybody. Yep. And real quick, shout out to Max Scherzer. We talked about the Houston-LA series from earlier this week. Congrats to Max Scherzer. He had a 10 strikeout game in his Dodgers debut. I did watch most of that. That was a great performance. But getting back to the Braves, the only thing that gives you hope is that you're in the NL East, in the least division. You finally over 500 as of this recording. Let's see if you can take advantage of it. You playing a Washington team this weekend. They're rebuilding as well. So let's see what happens.
Get some ground there. Also, you got Minnesota and Houston. And this should be a good one here. You got San Francisco and Milwaukee. That should be a good one.
Yeah.
Could be a playoff preview, perhaps. The battle of Missouri, of the Show Me State. You got Kansas City and St. Louis. It's always a fun one whenever those two teams battle it out. Miami and 85
Colorado. World Series.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. Brother.
Game 6, but we'll leave that alone.
Well, you can Google that, folks, if you want to talk about that. Miami and Colorado, Texas and Oakland. Of course, Sid mentioned Angels and Dodgers. That's always a fun when those two teams, play. The battle of Southern California, I guess, also to Arizona and San Diego. So there's a chance for San Diego to gain a little bit of ground.
Yeah, so it should be some exciting action this weekend in Major League Baseball. And so we'll look forward to that, and we'll give you our takes on the best and weekend that was in Major League Baseball on our next episode, which is Monday. We'll explain later. Wrapping up this first segment of Second City Sports, the weekend edition, along with Lakeena McGee, I'm Sydney Brown. Lakeena, let's go to the NBA. Of course, let's start off with our Chicago Bulls. Of course, they signed Lonzo Ball. They signed Alex Caruso, stole him away from the Lakers. No one saw that coming. And now they have DeMar DeRozan from Compton, California. He was with the Spurs the last 3 seasons. Now he's here with us as a member of the Chicago Bulls. They picked up backup center Tony Bradley as well. Lakeena, I don't know if you caught the comments of Mr. Kendrick Perkins from ESPN, 2008 champion with the Boston Celtics, but he said the Bulls could be a top 4, top 5 team in the East. Is he correct?
I think they could. I think they'd have to be right there from like the 4 to 6 range. I think they're right there in the middle. Also, too, they got Javonte Green, nice veteran, guy that can play both, outside and at the point. So a nice versatile guy, veteran guy there. But yeah, I mean, look, I think they can. I think I don't think they're not better than Brooklyn. They're not. I mean, and they're not. I heard some people, some, those Bulls fans, those crazy Bulls fans, like, oh, they're not. Look, we can challenge them. That's for number one. No, you guys aren't there yet. Let's slow down. Let's slow it down, kids. Let's slow down. You're not better than Milwaukee. So you're right there in that 4 to 6, 4 to 6 range in the East, and look, and that's okay. There's gonna be, look, as
long as you stay out of the play-in tournament, then you're good.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that as long as they stay out of that, I think they can definitely, make some moves here. And look, I think both the Caruso and DeRozan, we've heard about the DeRozan interest for a while. He was actually on his way to actually visit the Clippers, but then said, "Nah, you know what? I'm gonna go to the Bulls." And the Caruso stuff, our buddy Matt Peck from Lockdown Bulls, we gotta get him back on. Calls Mr. Caruso Elmer Fudd.
Boy Wobbit.
Yeah, I'll say now that's forever still in my brain. But he actually plays better than Elmer Fudd. He actually is a very versatile guard. He can be a facilitator when he needs to be, and just snatched him up from the Lakers. And I know Lakers fans were like, "What? Huh? What the hell?" I mean, like everybody, people were kind of wanting to rob like a tar and feather for letting him go. Also, too, Lonzo Ball. Look, we've been talking about him for like the last. For like last year's we've been doing this, Sid. I mean, this is a guy that's wanted to come to Chicago for the last couple of years, and now you've got him. Look, I think this is, you got a good starting 5 next year coming up. You've got a solid a supporting cast coming off the bench. We'll see what they do with Lowry. I still think they may have a chance. I know. There are some folks that said, well, they gave up a lot to get DeRozan, John Hollinger at the Athletic, and some of you others for saying that.
I read that too.
I know. I was just like, really? But again, for a guy like DeRozan, you had to probably overpay to get him to come here. So
yeah, I think he's 31, 32 years old. I'm talking about DeRozan.
Yeah.
So he's about to go on the other side of his career, but you still have something left. He still has plenty left. So, and plus he's come from the San Antonio Spurs. Greg Popovich doesn't get rid of guys just to get rid of guys. So something's got to be wrong. But he's been DeRozan's been a very good versatile player throughout the years in the NBA. I think he just completed season 11.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. So he's played for a decade. He only played a year or two in USC.
Yes.
I remember him as a young player for Toronto, which they built around. Of course, he was part of the trade for Kawhi, which brought them a title a couple of years ago. But I like this addition of DeRozan for the Bulls. We've been asking as Bulls fans to have versatility wingman. You have that now. You have Lonzo Ball as a point guard. He's still a good shooter, but I need him to distribute the ball first, which he will do. You don't need him to do everything. He's this era's version of Jason Kidd if he plays well. Just imagine him and Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine, hopefully, if he doesn't get hurt in the Olympics, we'll talk about the Olympics in our next segment. But just imagine him, and hopefully Zach LaVine will have some fresh legs, especially at the start of the next season. Imagine Lonzo and Zach on the newest lob combination in the NBA. Imagine that for a minute. The skies are going to be crowded at the United Center. And with Lonzo Ball throwing lobs to DeRozan and to Zach LaVine, I can vision it. I can vision it now.
Well, also too, you got Vucevic too. I mean, I know people like when they had that big three with with Ball and Levine and DeRozan, but hey, look, Vucevic is no
Hmm.
slouch. I mean, come on, you guys went through a couple All-Star games. I mean,
Yeah.
the man's no slouch. I mean, I'm sure he's going to get those lobs too from Ball, and also too, you got Tony Bradley, who's a veteran, center, who just tore up the Bulls, those couple of times that the Bulls played
Hmm.
Philly. But I mean, and also too, you got Io, you got Patrick Williams. We'll see where will Kobe how he'll. I'm sure they're gonna find a way to fit him in once he gets back from surgery. So look, I think this guy, and they got the I forgot the guy that they I keep forgetting Simonovic. I think that's his name is Simonovic, the guy that
Hmm.
they drafted last year, who's going to be playing this year, and he and Io and P Will are playing in the summer league as we speak. So they're
Hmm.
definitely getting some looks as well. So look, I think the Bulls can be right there for that 4 to 6 seed. Look, they're not at the top. They're not in the top 2 or 3 in the East yet, but I think they're right there in the 4 and 6. And look, they're not done. Like I think they're still going to try to trade Lowry, maybe get a couple of picks back.
Hmm.
So we'll see. I know Charlotte's been interested. I know there are a couple other teams that are interested in Lowry, and I know Lowry's already said he doesn't want to come back. So that's so that's that with that. I know Thad Young leaving. I know it's a bummer for some Bulls fans, but look, he did what he needed to do, and
Hmm.
you know, look, he made this team actually look good for a few spots. So, and look, you're getting 14.2 million off the books, so it's not really
Yeah.
you take that for what it's worth. And look, I'm sure that'll be just fine in San Antonio. But I think the sky's the limit for the Bulls. I really do believe it.
Yeah. This is what we asked for as Bulls fans for the last 3, 4 years, correct, Lakeena?
I
GM
believe
Mark
so.
Eversley. Yeah, GM Mark Eversley and team president
Arturas
Arturas
Karnish.
Karnisovas. Yeah, they had a plan. Right now they're executing it. Now it's up to the players to go out and win games. The Bulls are going to have a target on their backs next season, and that's a good thing. Expectations are supposed to be high. Now, as you mentioned, are they as good as Brooklyn or now the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks? No. Are they better than Philly? Maybe. Let's see what happens if Philadelphia gets rid of Ben Simmons. I don't know if you heard the drama out of his camp this week. We'll get to that in a second. But are they better than Philadelphia as of right now? No. Are they better than the Knicks? We'll get to their moves in a second. But are they better than the Knicks? I think they may be on the even kill. Are they better than Boston? Hell yes. Are they better than Indiana, Charlotte? Although I think Charlotte's up on the rise. Are they better than those two teams I just mentioned, Indiana and Charlotte? Yes. They're better than Washington? Yes. Cleveland stinks. Detroit stinks. There's no reason if this team stays healthy that this franchise shouldn't be in the playoffs next year. Your goal is not to be number 7 through 10. Avoid the play-in tournament and stay basically injury free. Now, another roster move that I wanted to talk about is when I heard the signing of Tony Bradley. I said to myself, "Gosh darn it, Daniel Tice is not coming back."
I know. I
Maybe
was
this
so
management will.
angry.
Yeah, I said maybe this management will surprise me and say Daniel Tice is coming back after we trade Lowry. Maybe, but the realist in me says Daniel Tice, unfortunately, is not coming back.
No, no,
I hope
no.
I'm wrong, but
No, no, no,
usually when my
no.
intelligence or my brain is taken over, I'm usually right 99% of the time.
No, no. I think Tice ended up going to, I believe. I know. I was so bummed. I know. I was so bummed. It was just like, no, no. I wanted Tice to stay. God darn it! But he ended up going to Houston, and 36 million for 4 years. I mean, that you couldn't really. The Bulls weren't going to be able to match that, and we were warned,
Yeah,
and so I was like, God. Darn it, darn it, darn it. But look,
yeah,
at least
yeah,
look, we still have Troy Brown Jr. He was really good too when in that trade. So I'm not too worried. I'm sure he's gonna find a way to fit him in there. And look, I think if you're a Bulls fan, you gotta be feeling encouraged. I know some Bulls fans are saying, "Well, we gave up a lot to get DeRozan." Look, if you have, look, AK's not done. And as our buddy Big Dave Watson would say, we gotta get him back on too. Let AK and Eversley cook. Let them cook, and they've been cooking so
yeah.
far, and they're not done.
I believe you that they're not done. Like I said, this new management team has a plan. They're executing it right now. It's up to the players to go out and win ball games. And now, before we break for our first segment, looking at other signings from around the league, the Knicks are looking good. They brought back our guy Derrick Rose. I think it was on a 2 or 3 year deal. I know they picked up Evan Fournier. I know he struggled with the Boston Celtics after that trade with Orlando last year, but he's going to help them out. And I believe they resigned Julius Randle as well.
Hmm.
Now, can they be a top 4, top 5 team? Perhaps. I know it was a little bit of they did it with the little smoke and mirrors last year, and props to former Bulls ex head coach Tom Thibodeau. But pressure's going to be on them too to do it again. Looks like they
Yeah.
have a better roster. And I'm not saying they're going to win 50 games and take over the East. I'm not going there just yet. I'm not saying the Bulls Knicks rivalry is back, not yet. But they're in the same position as the Chicago Bulls. They might
Yeah.
have just a slightly better roster at this point. But like you said, going back to the Bulls, this new management team is not done.
Yeah, I think they're kind of in an even spot. I believe, with the Knicks. I'm talking about the Bulls. I think they're kind of like right there,
Hmm.
sort of like in an even center here. But look, we'll see what happens, and gonna be interesting too. Patty Mills, he's going to the Nets. I mean,
That's
like
going to help Brooklyn.
that's gonna
I
help
like
them
that
look
move.
tremendously because the guard play last year, especially when Kyrie got hurt, was just atrocious.
Hmm.
So I think that's a really nice pickup for the Nets. It's a move the Nets had to make. And the Lakers with their AARP. I mean, my thing is, when we talk about the
Don't tell
Westbrook,
LeBron that.
I'm also, yeah, we talk about the Westbrook trade. They got Carmelo Anthony.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like, are there going to be enough basketballs? That's going to be my thing with the Lakers. Are there going to be enough basketballs for everybody? Because I mean, it's just like there's just so many parts, and I just like I'm just
Mhm.
afraid that you got to make sure that they're healthy, and it's basically championship
Mhm.
or bust for the Lakers. You got LeBron, AD, and it's just like it's gonna be chaotic, and you better hope that none of those guys get hurt
Yeah.
because I think that's gonna be a big problem for the Lakers. It's basically championship or bust for them.
Yeah, a couple of things on the Lakers. I know they resigned our Chicago's very own Taylor Horton Tucker.
Hmm.
But I think they're gonna miss Caruso a lot because he was a fan favorite. He brought the
Yes, he
energy out the
was.
bench, not just in terms of scoring, but in terms of defense as well. That's what Bulls fans better expect from Mr. Caruso starting next season. But can they still do a sign and trade with Dennis Schroeder? And I know there was rumors out there that he was supposed to be traded to Sacramento for Buddy Hield because the Lakers still need some outside shooting. Right now, they don't have it.
I mean, do you have that? Are you going to use some of those assets that they do have? Are they going to use that to perhaps maybe get healed? I mean, I know there was supposed to have been a trade in place, but I guess some of the other things that kind of came up, something came up, or I guess and the deal fell through. So
Hmm.
it's going to be very interesting though. I mean, also got Kendrick Nunn too, so that should help
Yeah,
them a little
Chicago's
bit.
very own as well, I believe.
Yes, yeah, too. So it's going to be interesting. A lot of
Mhm.
depth there. And look, you got Steph Curry and Trae on both signing 200 million plus 200 plus $1 million contracts. I think that's good for them. They're getting their pay.
Mhm.
Blake Griffin's coming back to the Nets. I think that should definitely help them because I think he
Mhm.
seems a lot more comfortable there, no doubt. Let's see what else. What else sort of signing that kind of got your radar going?
Uh, like I said, the Evan Fournier signing for the Knicks, they gives them a little bit of versatility, especially outside shooting, which they struggled with last year. You have a great post play with Julius Randle, who won NBA Most Improved Player award. You still have the versatility of Derrick Rose coming off the bench, but Evan Fournier gives you shooting that the Knicks team needs. He spreads the floor and then makes the defenders respect him and opens it up for your other four teammates on the floor at the same time. So that was a great pickup for the New York Knicks.
I am in agreement. I'm just looking to see what's more. Of course, Dwight Howard's returning to the Lakers. That's what I was saying. That is there going to be enough
Mhm.
basketballs for everybody?
But you
Uh,
don't need Dwight Howard to score. You saw that a couple
yeah,
years ago when they won the title. He was there. I know it was some games and some series that he didn't play when they won the title last year, but he's only there to relieve LeBron, perhaps AD for minutes. He's going to be their version of JaVale McGee. I don't
well,
need you to score 20 points and grab 20 rebounds. I need you to play 10, 12 minutes. Give me my 4 to 6 points. Give me my 8 to 10 rebounds. That's it.
yeah. Also
And block
Ariza too.
a shot or two.
Yeah, also Ariza too. He's back for league minimum. So Just it's a
Hmm.
very interesting sort of trades and free agency in the NBA. Of course, Kyle Lowry going to Miami. Our girl Lana is ecstatic with that move. She is. I think the Heat looks like they've made some moves. They probably aren't done either. Um, so it's definitely, I think NBA free agency is definitely going to be, especially now that you're going to have a full off season, actual off season now. These guys,
Hmm.
some of the guys that were, that got hurt, can heal up, and the guys that were banged up,
Hmm.
they can now be able to, come back and perhaps maybe be ready for the season with a full season. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be very interesting, no doubt about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Segment number one of the weekend edition of Second City Sports is in the books. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues with the NFL is back. Lakeena has her Olympic update, and we have a story or two from the sports media world, and we have a major announcement regarding this show. I'm Sid, that's Lakeena. You're listening to Second City Sports. Welcome back to the second half of the weekend edition of Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Along with Miss Lakeena McGee, I am Sydney Brown. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
Lakeena, let's kick off the second segment with football. We'll talk about college on our future shows because they're not too far from starting from around the corner. The NFL is back. Thursday it kicked off the 2021 preseason. Of course, last year we did not have a preseason due to the pandemic. This year we have 3 preseason games for all NFL teams because we have 17 regular season games this season. Thursday night saw the Dallas Cowboys lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers by the score of 16-3. Gary Gilbert for the Cowboys had 9 of 13 passing for 104 yards. Rico Dowdle, I can repeat this guy's name. He had 8 carries for 43 yards. We told you that the superstars wouldn't play. And Chase Claypool for Pittsburgh, the rookie wide receiver now in his second year, had 3 catches for 62 yards. Lakeena, a couple of things I noticed from watching that game on Thursday. I watched the highlights. Some defensive players have weird numbers, not traditionally in the 90s or the upper 80s. And number 2, it's just nice to see football back. It'll be the rest of the preseason for the rest of the league kicks off next weekend. Lakeena, as we said before, you didn't see any of the superstars play.
Mhm.
And number 2, it was nice just to see football back on my television again.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of interesting. You got a chance to see some of the sort of the first round picks or the NFL, the draft picks play. You saw
Hmm.
Najee Harris. You saw a little bit of Mason Rudolph and Garrett Gilbert. I mean, Dak's hurt, so of course you weren't going to see
Hmm.
him. Um, I think Claypool, has a couple of couple of nice catches. And look, I think, look, I only watched like maybe like one series, and because I was turning back and forth, so I was just like, whatever. Like I
Hmm.
didn't only watch from like some of the pro football, the Hall of Famers. They usually have them in the
Hmm.
booth. That's usually a tune in for. Micah Parsons. I mean, that's going to be a guy that is gonna he recovered a fumble, so I think look, that's going to be sort of the thing where
Hmm.
a lot's expected from him. So their first round pick, the Cowboys' first round pick, so a lot's expected of him. I mean, look, we'll see. I mean, look, you didn't see Zeke, you didn't see Dak, you didn't see Big Ben, you didn't see Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, look, a lot of, you weren't going to see those guys play.
Hmm.
So, look, this is sort of like for the draft picks to get some reps, and also too for the guys that are
Hmm.
kind of like on the borderline of whether or not to make the roster. Those guys, getting them a chance to play. Which, look, I think that look, that's what the preseason is for. I mean, you get to see, yes, you get to see the starters for a little bit, but this preseason is more
Hmm.
to kind of showcase those guys, the guys I mentioned before, the draft picks, the later draft picks, the guys that are kind of like on the borderline. So that's what preseason is for, basically.
And we'll see some wasted footage coming up this Tuesday on HBO as they start their new season of Hard Knocks, which they are following the Dallas Cowboys this year. Going back to Micah Parsons, Lakeena, We talked about this before we started recording. You're going to see some players wearing some quote unquote weird non football traditional numbers, position numbers. He's wearing number 11 for the Dallas Cowboys. On the field, he does look good. I think he's going to help restore that Cowboys defense, which failed them a year ago, even before Dak's injury.
Mhm.
But Mr. Parsons is wearing number 11. It's going to be weird to see defensive players. Your lineman is going to wear number 2 and your defensive end number 11 and your wide receiver wearing number 79.
Mhm.
I know the NFL allowed that this offseason, one of the many rule changes.
Yeah,
It's just
he
going to be weird to see, but we just got to get used to it.
Well, yeah, but that's the number he wore in college when he was at Penn State, so it's
Hmm.
not weird. But yeah, I think they did sort of like do away with that rule because I thought the rule was sort of silly that only quarterbacks can wear a number no more than like 8, like 7, like 16 or 17 or something like that. And now they've
Hmm.
gotten rid of that rule, so you are going to be seeing running backs wear like 38 or something, or like maybe a 79 or something, or you're going to have. I don't think you're going to see quarterbacks doing that. I think they're just going to stick with like the position guys, but.
Hmm.
I mean, look, I think he looked really good from the highlights I saw. I mean, and like I said before, I mean, this is more for the veteran guys. We were going to see the top guys, and like this is what preseason is for. We'll see that once the Bears kick off their preseason next week against Buffalo. We'll get to Buffalo in a second, but some big news there with their quarterback. But I mean, I know some people say preseason the waste. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk said, "Oh, it's such a glorified. Oh, this is a glorified exhibition. Look, this is what preseason is for. Those guys
Hmm.
outside the stars. Outside of even the first round picks, the middle round picks. Like I said, the guys that are
Hmm.
kind of like near the tail end of the 53 man. So this is what preseason is for. And look, they didn't have a last year, so that's why a lot of those guys didn't feel like they were being evaluated fairly. But now
Hmm.
that we get a full season, we only got 3 preseason games, which is more than enough to, get your synopsis of
Hmm.
what's going on with the players that you're looking out for.
And also too, I had to take a couple of things. One, the game was on Fox on Thursday because NBC is airing the Olympics, and of course, the Hall of Fame ceremonies for both last year's class and this year's class are airing this weekend on ESPN. Of course, Sunday Night Baseball with the Cubs and Sox is airing exclusively on ABC this Sunday. Another thing too, Lakeena, about um, these two teams, I'm wondering there. I think both franchises talking about the Steelers and the Cowboys. They're at a crossroads. And if you're Pittsburgh, this is Big Ben's last year.
Mhm.
And they got embarrassed at home last year in the wild card game against Cleveland. Dallas, of course, everybody's job and their mom is dependent on the health of Dak Prescott, who finally got his
Mhm.
money. I want to ask you, which team, without giving your prediction, official prediction away for the season, but
Mhm.
who has which team between those two teams has a better chance at long-term success this year, Pittsburgh or Dallas?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. But I'll
It is.
say
It is.
I'll say because of the division that they're in, because it's a little easier for them. I think it's easier for this team to win their division. I'm going to say the Cowboys because I think the NFC East is still very winnable in my opinion. As for the Steelers, I mean, you're dealing with Cleveland, you're dealing with Baltimore. It's going to be tough for them to win that division. So if I had to choose between those two, and you are making me, I'm probably going to say the Cowboys, just because of their division. I think they have a better chance to win the NFC East than the Steelers will win the AFC North.
I had to agree with you. Dallas has a better chance only because they're on paper, but of course your quarterback has to stay healthy, and your
That's the wild
defense
card.
has to be at least top 15 because they weren't last year, even before that got hurt.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's gonna be very interesting though. It's like I said, we'll get into it when we go into our divisional previews, which should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm like I said, I think we'll see how Dak's arm is. I think he's still recovering, he's still rehabbing. They're saying that maybe by the third preseason game he should be back, at practice. But again, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's just at this point, I think it's just crazy to think that maybe it will be the Cowboys or maybe the Steelers maybe somehow surprises everybody and ends up winning the AFC North. I don't know, but that's just crazy how football works sometimes. But let's talk a little bit about the Pro Football Hall of Fame right quick with both ceremonies for last year. Of course, it was canceled due to COVID.
Hmm.
It's going on in a couple of hours. I think for right now today. Also, they're gonna have on Sunday. It's gonna be they're gonna have a full slate there with Peyton Manning and Charles Woods and John
Mhm.
Lynch being the leading that group. All the speeches are gonna be like only 6.5 minutes, which is gonna be, I know it's gonna be tough for
Yeah.
some of them because that for
Yeah, they
Peyton.
can take a half hour
Yeah,
or
I'll say,
more.
yeah. I mean, look,
That's Ray Lewis.
I know 45. I think 45 minutes almost, like 45 minutes. His speech was. I think that's one of the reasons why they brought in that rule. I mean, it's gonna be interesting how they're gonna do that when if someone does go over 6.5 minutes. Are they gonna do like the Oscars where they just drown them out with the music? Or are they gonna do like they do with the Gong Show? Have like somebody whoever.
I'm not done.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah. Maybe have like
I've seen the light.
yeah, or do like they did on the Gong Show. Remember the Gong Show years ago when they
Yes.
started doing the whole like sweeping thing?
Boom.
They're like, yeah, I'll say, oh gosh, but look, you know what? I'm looking
Time's
forward.
up.
I know, like get off the stage. I'm really excited to see how some
Or
of
do
the
like Showtime the Apollo.
yeah. Oh God,
So
oh
that
Lord,
crowd-
who's gonna wear that costume though? Who are gonna get to wear that costume though? That's gonna be the thing. Like,
to the left, all to the
Oh,
left.
I have to drag them out, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But look, I'm looking forward to see some of the speeches. Jimbo Covert, of course, the O lineman for the
Yes.
Bears. I'm so happy for him. He finally got in.
Get Jay Hildenberg in there.
Yeah,
please.
please. I mean, but the two of them were really great. That O line for the Bears. I'm looking forward to see, of course, Peyton's speeches. I mean, hopefully, I don't know how you're gonna do 6.5 minutes with Peyton. It takes him that long to get one of the stories off the ground. So that's gonna. Well, no, it's true. I mean, he's a very smart. And also his bust. Like he said that they use a lot of glue for his head and his neck. So he said that his bust is gonna be. They use a whole lot of clay. But I'm sure Woodson's speech is gonna be very emotional. John Lynch too. Also Drew Pearson. I mean. This is a guy that has waited so long to get into the Hall of Fame. Also, Alan Faneca too. I think I'm sure his speech is going to be really good too. I mean, look, I'm looking for Calvin Johnson. I'm sure he didn't think he would get in this quickly, but
I saw his last game in Chicago in 2015.
Yeah. So I was gonna be see how his speech is. I know Jimmy Johnson.
Who knew?
Yeah, I'll say you're right. I mean, look, Jimmy Johnson, Bill Cowher. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna be emotional in their speeches.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Jimmy Johnson's. Yeah.
Yeah, and also too, Jimmy Johnson's finally gonna get into the Ring of Honor for the Cowboys. What took so long? I mean, come on. But
Jerry Jones, that's why.
Yeah, I know, but that's we won't get into that. I know Cowboys fans know how that feels,
right.
but I mean, what are you looking forward to this the Hall of Fame weekend? And then we get a double dose of Hall of Fame speeches.
Yeah, like I said, you mentioned Jimbo Covert from the '85 Bears. That offensive line doesn't get enough credit. I know it was about the defense. I know it was about the head coach and Dick. I know it was about the late Walter Payton at running back. But Jimbo Covert, who protected Dan Marino in college at University of Pittsburgh, it was Jimbo Covert.
Yes, sir.
And in the NFL, he did the same thing with all those quarterbacks that got in there with Doug Flutie, Jim McMahon, Steve Walsh. Not Steve Walsh.
No.
Not Steve Walsh. I'm not Googling
Flutie?
folks.
Not Flutie?
Yeah, well, Flutie, Flutie came in '86 when McMahon got hurt, but Mike Tomczak.
Tomczak, yeah, that's what you're probably.
It was Tomczak. It was another one. Oh, good grief! I'm not going to Google. I'm trying to get off of memory.
Who was it?
It's not Steve Walsh.
No,
it's killing me. Why?
No, Walsh was later on, and it might have been
right.
Flutie.
That's what I'm saying. It was in the '90s, but
I think it was Flutie.
Steve Fuller. Steve Fuller.
Yeah,
Steve Fuller. Yeah.
I forgot about
Steve Fuller. Yeah. So you had to protect those quarterbacks. So Jimbo Covert did a nice job, as I said before. Shout out to Tom Thayer. I don't know if he's going to be there or not, but I know he does the Bears radio for WBBM here in Chicago. Him and Jeff Joni do a great job. Hopefully you get one of both of them on before the season starts. Shout out to the sports radio guys. But hopefully Jay Hildenberg, I've been saying this for the last 2 or 3 years. Like, I know I said it on when we were doing our radio show. Jay Hildenberg, get him in there. He doesn't get enough credit that he deserves.
No, he doesn't. And also too, Tom Flores finally got his due. The first guy to win the Super Bowl as a player, and assistant coach, of course, won a couple as a head coach of the Oakland Raiders. So
I think he's the first Hispanic coach as well.
Yes, he was first coach of color. People forget that it wasn't Tony Dungy that was the first coach of color to win a Super Bowl as a head coach. It was Tom Flores. So I know he's also the first to do it.
Yeah, Tony Dungy was the first African American head coach.
Yes, yeah, but Mr. Flores was the first coach of color to do it. So let's make sure we get that straight. And, finally getting his due in the Hall of Fame. So yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to get who's going to get thrown off the stage for going on too long. Ray Lewis, 45 minutes.
To the left, to the left.
I mean, I went to the bathroom. I went to got myself together, cleaned up in my kitchen, and then he was still talking. Ray Lewis was. I'm like, well, good grief! I mean, I'm like, you don't have to think your first grade teacher. I mean, good lord. And hopefully Troy Polamalu will be able to speak. I know he had, he got COVID, I think earlier, late last week. So hopefully he'll get the clearance to be able to do his speech. I know he's been waiting. I know he's a first ballot guy, but yeah, it's gonna be very. This should be a lot of fun. I know, especially with not it being there last year because of COVID. You get double the speeches, so it should be fun this weekend.
Yes, it should be. As we're transitioning over to today's players, as you mentioned earlier, Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, he has fresh paper.
Oh yes, a friend of mine just tweeting, so Scrooge McDuck sort of, money. He got a 6-year, $258 million deal, also including $150 million guaranteed. So he got his paper, and look, he's very deserving of this. I mean, look, there's a lot of expectations for Buffalo, not just for the AFC East, but also to the fact that Super Bowl aspirations. So they made some moves during the offseason. Like I said, we'll talk about that when we do our divisional previews. But I don't want to say a Super Bowl or bust for Buffalo, but definitely got to go further than they did in the playoffs last year. I mean, look, they lost to the Chiefs, so it was going to be it was going to be hard. It was a big. It was sort of a lot to them, not a lot of ask for them. Of course, had Chiefs be having everybody back, but look, I think he's very deserving, Josh Allen, as I'm talking about, of this contract.
He's the MVP of the team. I know they have a great defense. He is their best player on the Bills, and he deserved it. We talked about him last year, Lakeena, as a potential MVP candidate. If he stays healthy and if he gets any contribution from his running game and his receiving core, he should be that much better. And so I expect great things for him. I know they play the Bears next week. We probably won't see him on the field, but congratulations to Mr. Allen. The targets on Buffalo's back this year. Last year, we knew they were a good team, but no one was really paying attention to them. Now people are paying attention to them this year. Last year they were the Hunters. Now they're the Hunted this year.
4,544 yards passing, 37 touchdown passes, and 8 rushing touchdowns. That's the first time a player has ever done that, to have at least 4,500 passing yards, 35 touchdowns passing, and at least 5 rushing touchdowns. And Josh Allen has done that. And yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll get to our individual proofs. I guess they're not sneaking up on anybody anymore. They now have, they're now the Hunted. So we'll see how they respond.
Real quick before we move on to your Olympic update, the Bears had their family day this past Tuesday at Soldier Field. I know a couple of our new colleagues, which we'll mention at the end of the show, were there. Lakeena, call me crazy, but I think the Bears did drop the ball on this one. Maybe had something to do with your mayor, Mallory Lightfoot. Usually those Bears family day practices are held on a Sunday or Saturdays. Mostly, of course, pre-COVID. They were held on Saturdays, but they snuck it in on a Tuesday this year. Maybe it was because they don't want that many people there. I don't know, but they dropped the ball on this one. Especially everybody in Bears Nation is excited to see rookie quarterback Justin Fields. But you put it on a Tuesday in the middle of the day. Maybe something I don't know.
I think it was probably because they probably wanted to keep it limited because of COVID. That's the problem there, because why I saw, if we, our buddies, some of our buddies who cover the Bears, our buddy Mark Grody, who was part of that group with, on 780, WBBM 780 News Radio, with Mr. Thayer and Mr. Joniak. We gotta get one of those 3 on, guy, like you said, for the season. Also our girl Caitlin Sharkey from Fox 32, she was out there as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it might have been probably because of COVID. I think they probably wanted to limit, the crowds. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is why they did it in the middle of the week like that, as if doing it on a weekend. That's probably the only thing reason I can think of as to why they would do that. But
Yeah,
look,
I gotta say, I gotta say them not doing it on this past Saturday and that past Sunday because of
Lollapalooza.
Lollapalooza.
That's probably what it was. Yeah, I think they
Which,
probably was that. Yeah,
which
to limit the
we
crowds.
finally got
Yeah.
our answer now. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we
so
probably got our
that's
answer.
yeah. So I think for people saying, why would they do it? No, I think they wanted to limit the crowds because of COVID. They wanted to kind of let the Lollapalooza stuff die down a little bit. Of course, some of those folks, from didn't not come from the city or from the surrounding areas. I'm just saying, we don't. People, a lot of folks here don't rock with Lala like that. I tweeted that earlier this week. A lot of us don't do that. So for people
They
to say,
might have the chance to do that anymore, but we'll see since the
right.
contract's up.
Yeah, and also, and a lot of that was not under Mayor Lightfoot or Governor Pritzker's controls. I know some people want to blame them for no, it wasn't. They really didn't have a choice in the matter. But again, we won't get into a tangent about it because we're not a political show and we're not gonna be. But it's the only reason I can think of as to why they probably would do that. I mean, look, as far as them looking, I know everybody says Justin Fields. Oh my God, he got this big threw this long touchdown pass to Darnell Mooney, and he says it's a thing of beauty, but also too, unfortunately, Tevin Jenkins, who's their pick from their second round pick from Oklahoma State, is having issues with his back. And if you're thinking about it, last year, unfortunately, one of the reasons why he didn't play in their bowl game, because they made a New Year's Day bowl game. He was having back issues and back tightness, so he's missed a lot of practices. So that's something to look out for too if you're a Bears fan. They've also been having some injury issues too, the Bears. So we'll see. We'll see if this is gonna be a trend here. Like I know the guy Alec Ogletree, who's a veteran linebacker, so that that maybe that should help him with depth wise a little bit. But again, look, he's been to a couple of Pro Bowls, so I think that's. Look, I think if you're the Bears, I think linebacker depth is definitely something that you would not. You definitely you can never have too many linebackers, as they say. So maybe hopefully we see how he contributes to the Bears. But and look, I'm in show me mode with the Bears. Look, I'm keeping my expectations tempered. Because I gotta.
What's that? Ted Phillips calling you?
Well, no. Well, I wouldn't answer if it was him, but yeah. I mean, look, we'll see. Like, again, Eddie Goldman is still out because of COVID protocol. Because of COVID, he has COVID now. For the last week, so. I think I'm keeping my expectations tempered for the Bears. I'm not expecting too much from them. I'm not going to expect them to win a division or nothing like that. I got them at 8 or 9 or 9 and 8 or whatever, somewhere in that range. But again, we'll get to it when we get to our previews. But I don't know how you feel about it. But you go ahead, Sid.
Yeah, it's just hopefully that the injury and COVID bug doesn't hurt this team too much, and like we've been saying, we'll keep saying until the season starts. This Bears team will be of interest to watch, and part of it is because of rookie quarterback Justin Fields. If he starts week 1, it'll start right away. If not, the question is not if, when, WHEN, when he gets on the field. And also, can this defense relive what they did back in 2018? You have different parts now. Some of the parts are still here, and you have some new parts. So can they get somewhere between 2018 and early last season when they started off 5-1? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes, because like we've been saying, I mean, there have been a lot of injury issues with the Bears, so far in training camp, and look at some of the other teams too. I know Jimmy Smith just got hurt for the Ravens. Well, hopefully that injury is not serious, because they definitely need him. Especially if they're trying to since they're going to try to win that AFC North. Lamar Jackson, of course, he hasn't been cleared for COVID protocols yet, but the rumor is that next week he will. A few other sort of notes. I mean, Quentin Nelson has the same injury that Carson Wentz has. I don't know if they're practicing on concrete over there at Colts camp, but he's going to be out sort of from the same time frame. We'll see. Again, if you're a Colts fan, you're hoping it's more the low end, like 5 or 6 weeks, so that they can at least, Nelson and Wentz can at least be there for when the season starts. But again, I mean, I know Jimmy Graham on the Bears tight end said some interesting things. He was frustrated with the PA's NFL PA's handling of the COVID protocols. Look, I get what he's saying, but again, even people who are vaccinated, now Graham is vaccinated, people are still getting COVID, even the folks who are getting vaccinated. So I think this is still a way for them to kind of like, it's keeping yourself, clean, and
Hmm.
keeping, everyone else clean. So if you have to get tested, even though if you already had the vaccine, then so be it. But again, they don't want to have any COVID outbreaks. I'm sure the team doesn't want, none of the teams want any COVID outbreaks.
Hmm.
So I know Kirk Cousins. I know people are shaming Kirk Cousins for some of his comments, but look, I think he's speaking for a few more than a few guys.
Yeah, and that's what happens. And with unfortunately with the issues like this, and we talked about it before, Lakina, and we had a good friend, Miss Sherry Stuff from WBEZ here in Chicago. We had her on back in April. We all said that this could be a potential problem. Now, Matt Nagy was on the radio early Friday morning on ESPN 1000 with their morning show, Cabin J Hood, and he was talking about they were quoting head coach Bruce Arians, the defending Tampa Bay Buccaneers, saying 92% of their roster should be vaccinated by the beginning of the season. I think he said the Bears should be between 85 and 92%. I think they had the 85% already, as we talked about in our last episode. So as we said before, like, we heard teams from Minnesota, Washington, that they're both their head coaches Zimmer and Ron Rivera, they were both upset that many of their players have been vaccinated. It's only so much you could do. I know the NFL is a business. They're not a regular 9 to 5 job. They're a monopoly, and it's a private business. They could do just about whatever they want. But as we said before, some people are not going to get it. The ones that are on the fringe, they'll probably end up getting it, especially the ones that are trying to make the team, they'll probably end up getting it anyway. So, unfortunately, you're still going to hear some of these stories, but hopefully it'll die down once the preseason is over.
Yeah, I think the
Because
latest.
because at the end, as we said, at the end of the day, it all comes down to money, and no one wants to lose that.
And also too, I think the latest number was that 90% of the NFL players and coaches and stuff have been vaccinated, or at least gotten at least one shot. So if you're the NFL, I think that's an encouraging sign. If you can get to like maybe 95 by the time the season starts, or maybe even close to 100. Look, like you said, so there's still going to be guys that are not going to want to, not going to want to get the vaccine. And look, that's within their right. They can't, you
Hmm.
can't force them. So, but you can basically just say that, look, at least wear a mask and whatnot. So again, we'll see. I mean, look, I think you can only do so much. Look, private businesses can, they can encourage they can make their people. I know some businesses are, saying that, look, if you want to come back, to work here, you're going to have to get the vaccine, which is well within their right.
Hmm.
And look, the NFL, I think, look, if you saw some of the memos that they sent in the last, couple of weeks, I think they've said the same thing. They said, look, we're not going to make it, take it. But again, your team's not going to be very happy with you. And I know that, I think Minnesota's like at 72%, I think last I saw. So,
Hmm.
and then I'm sure Mike Zimmer's not very happy with that number. So, and he's also too, he's a cancer survivor. So I'm sure, he's immune compromised. So I think you just gotta be careful. And look, and I'm sure folks are gonna say, look, if you're not gonna get the vaccine, at least wear a mask. You can't, not do one or the other. So I think my
Exactly.
suggestion to coaches and such, if you're not gonna taking the vaccine, at least wear a mask, and at least, do distance, keep your hands washed and whatnot.
Exactly. Sticking with football before we move on, RG3, as the kids call him, as we know him as adults as Robert Griffin III, as we reported a month back, he had auditions for a television analyst role with Fox and ESPN. He auditioned for both of them. Both those networks liked him. ESPN picks him to now become their football analyst for college and pro football, but has an open in his contract. If he wants to play in the NFL this season, he will be allowed to go. He's going to be the new Dan Orlovsky, talking both college and pro football. Congrats to RG3.
And totally deserving. And if you saw Reese Davis, of course he's been doing college, covering college sports for a long time. He said he did
Hmm.
his RG3's audition. He did it with him, and he said that it was literally like one of the best auditions he's ever seen. I'm paraphrasing what he
Hmm.
said, but
Hmm.
he asked him had he done it before. Robert told him no, and he said, look, he's gonna be great because he was just amazing, in his audition. So, and good for RG3. I know he has a clause where he has an opt out clause where if a team does decide, And it happens during the season. If a team says, like we want to pick him up, he has that option to, opt out of that. But he's been, he was throwing footballs against his own wall, catching them. So I don't know. But unfortunately, the Ravens didn't call him back, and I don't think anybody will. But again, I'm sure he'll do just fine
Mhm.
in the booth, and also he's going to be doing some studio work too. So he'll be great at it. And look, if you saw him, he did a little bit of it, during the Super Bowl for Bleacher Report. He was just outstanding,
Mhm.
and like ESPN's really lucky to have him, like you said. So I think he's going to end up being like the Dan Orlovsky, the Black Dan Orlovsky, I should say, because you know how
Yeah.
how Black folks are. So,
Yeah.
but I want those two. I want those two in a booth together. That'll be fun.
Ooh, that like ooh, I'm sure that hopefully some ESPN execs are talking about this right now. Have like a quarterback room podcast or a segment on
Yes.
Sports Room with both of them. That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be cool, right? I mean, that's
If they do it, you heard it here first.
yeah,
I want my
exactly.
credit.
Yeah, like you say, he wants his royalties, folks. But yeah, so I think he's gonna be really good at it. And hopefully Alex Smith lands somewhere. I think he'd be a great. I know he wants to do it, so I'm sure hopefully he'll be a great addition to one of the networks, maybe CBS or maybe even ESPN. ESPN will find will find the room. So
Yeah.
hopefully he's not too far behind signing with doing some studio and game work this year in NFL or college.
Yeah, all right. You're listening to Second City Sports Weekend Edition along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown. As of this recording, Lakeena, as we get into your Olympic update, the USA men's basketball team will play for gold against France. We'll give you our Cisco and Eva reviews of the gold medal game in our next episode on Monday. Lakeena, as we start your Olympic update, let's talk about the men's basketball team. They defeated Australia going away in that second half. They scored 32 points in that third quarter, including a 20-0 run. I watched the majority of that game the other day. That first half was competitive, but it was terrible for the United States. They couldn't shoot the ball worth a lick. In the second half, they turned up their defense, and shots started to fall, especially from beyond the 3-point range.
Yeah, I mean they didn't. I got like the first part of it. The good news is that the gold medal game will actually be on. Of course, the game will already will already have happened by the time by the time this is posted. But
Hmm.
I think they're good. I don't think there's any reason why the US shouldn't win it.
Hmm.
I think they're getting hot at the right time. I think they're starting to mesh, and I think they're kind of getting into a rhythm. So, and I think they want to win this gold medal because I'm sure they're hearing it from back home. I'm sure they've seen the social media where people are saying, "Oh, well, this team sucks," and blah blah blah. I mean, it would be a nice,
Hmm.
so it also be a nice way for Jerry Colangelo, who's kind of the architect of this sort of redeemed team, if you will, to have him go out on top with the gold medal. I still say there needs to be some changes made. Look, I love Pop, but this needs to be like one and done for him because I just don't think his style is going to work with you can tell kind of Kevin Durant is not very comfortable playing this style. So
Hmm.
it's some of the other players. That's why they brought in Keldon Johnson. Of course, he's one of his own guys from San Antonio. But again, we'll talk about that after on Monday after this is played. But yeah, so I think that look, they're not going to beat teams by 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 points anymore. That's not going to happen anymore. So as long as they look, it's not about style points. As long as they win,
Hmm.
people should be okay with it.
In your opinion, who's been the top three players for the U.S. Throughout this tournament?
I would say KD, of course.
Agree.
Let's see who else. I know Draymond. Draymond's been kind of he does some really silly things and some thankfully in the semi against Argentina Australia I should say he actually did get better, which is good. I'll say Zach. I
He
think look
looks older than 31. I'm just saying.
okay, I wouldn't tell him that in the room, but in a room with him, but but I think Zach's been playing very well for them, and I would think
Hmm. Yeah, I
um
think Zach's been the third best player in my opinion in during this run.
I agree, and also who do I think is I'll say Drew Holiday. I'll say Drew Holiday. I think he's been kind of like he's
Hmm.
made some big defensive stops for them that kind of kept you know teams at bay. I think he's showing you why he's all defensive team. He was all defensive team the last couple of years, and And I think, look, he's been kind of like, and I actually commend him and Booker and Chris Middleton and also to Devin Booker, as I should say, the fact that they've been able to come back and actually contribute, literally just, from playing the finals to, contributing coming overseas, all the way to, to the other side of the world and actually contributing. You got to give those three guys props for doing that. So, but I think if I had to choose in no order, I would say KD, Zach, and Holiday. What about you?
I was going to say Durant, Booker, and Zach LaVine. Those was my initial three.
Okay. Booker's definitely in my like top five, 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Tatum's been playing pretty well too for the U.S. So yeah, I mean, look, we'll see what happens. Hopefully they'll win. Look, the game's coming on at 9:30. Of course, it'll be last night, but people will be able to watch it. So that's, for folks who have been, and also going to be on NBC too. So for those who've been saying, oh, I don't want to go on Peacock and then blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's going to be on NBC. So Mike Trigger already said it's going to be in prime time. So you guys don't have to worry about that. But yeah, it's going to be, like I said, it should be a good final, but there's no reason why I don't think the U.S. shouldn't win it.
All right, what's been happening else with our U.S. athletes in the Olympics this past week as we wind down these Olympics?
I wish I had the music
in
playing.
Tokyo.
I know.
Maybe soon. Maybe
we'll see. But yeah, look, Allison Felix winning her 10th medal in track with the 400 meters. Winning bronze, and I know some people are kind of disappointed, but look, she's 34, so it's gonna be hard for her to win the gold. The fact that she even made the team, you can tell she's satisfied. And also they actually the women actually do have a chance to win. She can actually have a chance to win another gold medal in the 4x4 for the women. So hopefully she'll have a chance there. I gotta say that in track for the US, they've underachieved. Just not good showings in some of the sprinting events. I mean, the 400 meter hurdles, you had a great race between Sydney McLaughlin and the defending Olympic champion Muhammad. McLaughlin, just edged out Muhammad, winning the gold, bringing her own world record. That was just a great race.
Did you see the U.S. men's relay when they passed the baton?
Oh, that was terrible.
Carl Lewis went off on social media.
God, that was tell everybody what happened.
The U.S. I believe finished 6th. I believe it was a mistransfer of the baton.
Yes.
I like watching those as well, and I know that's part of the track and field. And Carl Lewis, I wish I had the tweet in front of me, but without swearing, he went off. He's like, whatever they're doing as far as technique and practicing, I'm just paraphrasing him. Whatever they're doing as far as their technique and their preparation, and he's like, this is not right. There needs to be some changes. Oh, he just went off.
If you remember Taylor Twellman when the U.S. men's soccer team, I should say, they were having their struggles, not qualifying for the Olympics and whatnot. It was actually before that, but he basically infamously said, "What are we doing?" That was basically what Carl Lewis was saying there with that tweet.
Yeah.
He basically saying, "What are we doing?" And like I said, I mean, that 4x1 for the men has been snake bitten in the Olympics for the last few years. They have not won a gold medal since Sydney in 2000. And look, Carl Lewis knows how it feels because, in his last race, which was the 4x1, that's the similar thing happened when he was on that team. So he knows.
Exactly. That's why he snapped the way he did on Twitter.
That's why he snapped. People forget that that actually happened. He was on. It didn't happen with his leg, but it was right before his leg. That happened. So look, I don't know who runs USA track, but there's definitely need to be some changes made because they didn't win the gold in they were shut out of any medals in the 400 meters for the men. They were shut out of gold. They were shut out of any medals on the women's 100 meters. They did not win gold there. Ryan Benjamin, who had that the men's we knew the women's 400 meter hurdles were good, but he just ran to a buzzsaw with Karsten Walham who won gold and broke his world record too. I mean, he's been great since very Edwin Moses-esque, I should say, from Norway. He's just an amazing athlete, and it was going to be hard for Benjamin to win that. Also, too, Grant Holloway. I mean, unfortunately, he didn't win gold. I mean, actually the guy, Harold Parchment, who actually won, actually lost to the guy that has the Parchment, I should say. He actually lost to the guy. I forgot the guy's name who beat him for winning it. But it was just weird irony there. But and just they were Richard Bednarik and Noah Lyles. Lyles was supposed to have been the contention for the 200. He didn't win there. It wasn't a good. It just has not been a good hasn't been a good showing for the U.S. in the sprints. I mean, they've won a lot of field events. I believe I forgot who. Let me see who won the women's pole vault. I know it was someone from Cleveland. Katie Nigote. Katie Nigote. I hope I'm getting her name right. She won the women's pole vault. I think that's the first time that's happened in a while for the women. There's a 19-year-old who won the 800 meters. And I want to make sure I get her name right. Oh shoot, I gotta get her. Make sure I got her name right. But yeah, she's only 19. I think the sky's limit for her. I think because Amaha Mu, I think that's her name. She's from Trenton, New Jersey. I think Mu, that's her name. She won the gold for the 800 meters for the women. So and on the men's shot put, gotta make sure I get that right. On the men's side, it was actually weird because the same order that won, Ryan Krauser won, breaking his own Olympic record. He won the last Olympics. Also, Joe Kovacs, I should say, he won the silver, and Tom Walsh, I should say, from New Zealand won the bronze. That's actually the same order that happened 5 years ago in the Rio Olympics. That's the first time it's ever happened in the Olympics where they get the exact same order. So it was just amazing. But yeah, thankfully they've been doing well. The U.S. has done well in the track and the field events, I should say, because on the track it has not been very good for the U.S.
All right, that's our Olympic update for this week here on Second City Sports with Lakeena McGee. I'm Sydney Brown. Let's start before our major announcement. Lakeena, I'll just give a summary of this from the sports media world. As we talked about college football, you'll be hearing more about college football on our program moving forward. We'll tell you why in just a second. The University of Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, they'll open up their season against Toledo on Saturday, September 11th. Where you can see that game, not on NBC, but on Peacock Premium. Lakeena, I've been hearing conversations around. We talked about this before with other teams, and especially in the professional leagues. We saw, with baseball, they have exclusive rights with YouTube to air one game per week. I think the White Sox are coming up next week. I believe the Wednesday game, against Minnesota. That'll be the next game on YouTube for MLB. But getting back to Notre Dame, their home opener will be September 11th on Saturday. It will not be on ABC. It'll be on Peacock Premium to get you folks to sign up for that service to watch that game. Lakeena, as I'm trying to say this again, we all want and need options to watch our sporting events. There's nothing like live sports. I think that's the only thing that's pure about television, live events that we have left, because everything is streaming now. Everything's on demand. You can watch it via YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, things of that nature. Do you think we'll ever get to the point that live sports will be exclusively streamed and cable TV wouldn't exist anymore? Do you think we'll ever get to that point?
I doubt it. I think people want, sort of like you said, so I think people want the options of being able to watch sports on their television. I know we got a lot of cord cutters out there, but but I think people want that option. I think some folks are going to be traditionalists and not going to want to have to watch their shows, go on a streaming service like a Peacock. It's going to be on the free version of Peacock for those who are wondering. I know that there's a premium version, but the Notre Dame game is actually going to be on the free one. So you just need an email to sign up, and you're good to go in that crud. But yeah, I mean, I guess, look, NBC's been kind of struggling with the Peacock app. I know they've gotten Days of Our Lives and also the Olympics. They've put a lot of their stuff on Peacock to get folks to to go to that service. I think that's really what that's about.
Yeah, and like you say, to get the numbers and the advertising money back that you need, you had to have people to sign up. So, I like the options, Lakeena, for streaming. Of course, we talked about this. There was a story early in the season that of course the New York not the New York. Sorry, I'm thinking about football. But the San Francisco Giants in their series against the Philadelphia Phillies early this year, all three of those games from San Francisco were exclusively streamed on Peacock. Of course, both those teams, their exclusive phones are NBC Sports Bay Area and NBC Sports Philadelphia. Do you think we're going to see that with the NBA and the NHL coming up soon? You're going to have a few regular season games exclusively on the streaming service. If those are successful, it may turn into exclusively streaming for an entire season.
Well, I mean, again, I don't see it happening, especially when the
Okay.
NFL knows that they can get more eyeballs to watch on the television than they would on the streaming app. I might be in denial
Hmm.
here, but I just think that that's going to be probably going to be the case with the NFL is because of the fact that they know that. Look, we talked about it earlier with the Super Bowl, perhaps streaming on pay-per-view. I don't see that
I
happening
don't think
either.
that's happening.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening because I think they realize that if they want the advertising dollars, the most they can do is get it on, people watching on television. That they look the
Hmm.
ratings for the NFL. The NFL is still the number one, the number one program. It's been that way for like the last 10 or 15 years. So I
Hmm.
again, that's more money for the networks and for the league. So I don't think you're gonna see it to the point where it's gonna be on YouTube, it's gonna be on Hulu Live, it's gonna be on you know Netflix Live. I mean, it's just not gonna happen. So I just don't see it.
Yeah, I know the NFL has an exclusive deal with Amazon, which starts next year. Of course, it's only going to be on "quote unquote" free TV, whichever teams play in those markets for that week. So the NFL is kind of dipping into it already. I want to see if the NBA will try to do it. The NHL, know they just got back with the marriage with ESPN. They're with Turner now, but will they try it down the road?
Yeah, but like you said, I just don't see it happening. Like I said, I don't. Like I said, it's gonna be an option, but like we've been doing it, but it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be like sort of like the thing where like, oh my God, let's say it's totally gonna be, exclusively on this streaming service or that streaming service. It just isn't gonna happen.
All right, Lakeena, let's close out Second City Sports in pure professional style fashion. Tell our audience the big announcement.
Well, also too, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the Canadian women's soccer team for winning gold. It's their first time winning gold in that discipline, so good for them. Also, to Gable Steveson, from University of Minnesota, who's defending national champion in wrestling. He won in his discipline. Also, too, the good news is he's still in college. He's only 21, but the $50,000 that you get free for participating in Olympics, and also the $200,000 that you get for winning gold, he's actually able to keep that money now. So with the new licensing fee agreements, he actually can now keep that $200,000. So to play however he wants. He actually wants to wrestle in WWE. He's getting a lot of love for Triple H and Ric Flair. Woo! So I know. Look, if I know if our guy Lamont's gonna be listening to this, he's gonna be a happy camper. But just want to give him a shout out too. So
Mhm.
just want to make sure I give a shout out, but also to the big announcement. Well, we're still going to be doing this, but we're actually going to be doing it in live form now. We're going to be live streaming
Live and
from,
in living color.
well, I don't know about living. Well, so living color, that might be a bit of a stretch. Might be a bit of a stretch, but we're going to be on our new home. Actually, it's actually our second home, I guess, but we're going to be on Sports Zone Chicago. Yep, it's a streaming service that's been around for a while. It's on YouTube, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. This is sort
Mhm.
of like the sports, sports talk, to kind of give you an option in case if you want something different from the two main radio stations, sports radio stations, six, of course, 506.7 The Score and ESPN. But look, we're still gonna give you some our thoughts. We're gonna still gonna have great guests on, but we're
Mhm.
just gonna be doing it in a different format. Actually, back to our regular roots, which is doing it live. We're doing it live, folks. We're doing it live.
Yes, we actually talk about some breaking news as well because before we had to kind of, I'm not gonna say tiptoe around it, but we couldn't do what we wanted to do in a way in with pre-recording these episodes. Well, it's been great, Lakina. Shout out to Cal Means as well. As soon as I started getting shout outs, I'm gonna forget some people's names, of course. Dean Davis, all the folks at IMS, and of course all the people we worked with throughout the years. Thank them one and all as well. And so this we're going back to live uh, radio/podcasting, if you will. So whatever breaking news happens between 12 and 2 Chicago time, that's 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 a.m. to noon in the West Coast. And for those of you in Hawaii, figure out the math your damn selves. Just kidding. But we're doing it live every Monday and every Friday on Sports Zone Chicago. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and on YouTube. Our shows will be live. Our shows will be saved immediately on YouTube at Sports Zone Chicago. Give them a follow.
Yay.
Subscribe to that channel. You'll if you missed anything, you can watch it immediately after our show goes off. So catch us live. You'll be able to ask us questions live.
Yeah.
We're not pre-recorded, so if you want to ask us questions, follow Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook. Follow us on Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. You can communicate with us there as we do our show live. So that's be another great thing. And also, too, once football season gets started, every Friday is going to be a football Friday.
Yes.
We'll give you our NFL picks, and college football will be a premium as well.
And also, too,
we're going to give you a lot of that.
And also, too, we're still going to be doing, you can catch the audio version also, too, on weareradio.com. We're still going to have the audio version. Those are going to be up in case you missed it, or in case you prefer we listen to the audio version, which I don't blame you. But and the various streaming platforms, on Spotify, Anchor, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast. So we're still going to have the audio versions up, but you can also watch us live, too. So, you got options.
Yeah. Yes, you can communicate with us live as we do our show that's starting this Monday on Sports Zone Chicago. You can find Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook and Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Shout out to Maya Kai and Sean Sierra and the rest of the crew over there for giving us this great opportunity.
All right. So with that said, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. You can follow this podcast, Second City Sports. As we move to, Sports Zone Chicago. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook and follow Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. And of course, as always, as Lakeena says, you can follow the audio version. We'll follow War Media right here on YouTube at WAR Media. That's WAR Media right here on YouTube. You can find the audio version of Second City Sports still at War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms. You can go to our website, weareregalradio.com, for more details. And follow War Media on social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WAR Media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much for your support, and join us on Sports Zone Chicago every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 Central Standard Time on Sports Zone Chicago. You can watch it via their Facebook page or right here on YouTube at Sports Zone Chicago. Please, we need your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. Just subscribe to Sports Zone Chicago on the various social media platforms. Follow them.
Yes.
You can tweet. Look, you can tweet them. You can even ask us questions, or you can give your thoughts on the Facebook feed and also on the YouTube feed. So we're right there for you.
Yes, for Lakeena, I'm Sid. This has been Second City Sports. We will see you Monday live, local, and worldwide via the YouTube on Sports Zone Chicago from noon to 2 p.m. Chicago time on Sports Zone Chicago. It's Cub Sox weekend. Yours truly will be heading on his way to the Saturday game. We're not doing anything stupid. You Cubs and Sox fans better not do anything stupid either, or else I'm going to call you out on it. But other than that, have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday on Sports Zone Chicago right here on YouTube from noon to 2 p.m. live. Lakeena?
We're doing it
live. Any other words?
We're doing it live.
Yes.
So but look, like I said, the only difference is that we're gonna be doing it live. That's really which we were doing beforehand before we started doing it this way. So we're going back to our roots basically. So look, be good to each other, stay safe, and it's gonna be a little hot out there. So don't do anything stupid and if you're not gonna get vaccinated, wear your mask and stay safe out there and be good to each other. Still, we're doing it live, folks. This has been Second City Sports Zoom style for one last time, but we're gonna be doing it live. So make sure you guys come in and support our buddies, Sean and Maya, and some of the other shows that are on there too. So till then, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you on Sports Zone Chicago right here on YouTube on Monday starting at noon Chicago time. Go Sox. Holla!